The Australian outback stretched vast and unending, a land of red earth and sweltering heat. It was the year 1932, and the country, still recovering from the devastation of World War I, found itself facing an enemy unlike any other. The Great Depression had gripped the world, leaving many Australian soldiers who had once fought for their nation struggling to survive. But even as they faced economic hardship, a new battle was brewing, a war
Please subscribe my YouTube channel and press the bell icon for new update.
that would be fought not against men, but against birds. Western Australia had become home to an unexpected menace. Thousands of emus, large flightless birds standing over 6 feet tall, had begun invading farmlands. The farmers, already suffering from a severe drought, found their wheat fields trampled and their livelihoods threatened by the relentless birds. The emus moved in great numbers, their powerful legs tearing up crops while their sharp beaks devoured whatever was left. The situation was dire, and the desperate farmers turned to the government for help. The Australian military, fresh from the battlefields of World War I, had little reason to refuse. Many of the men sent to fight this unusual war were veterans, their spirits still unbroken despite their hardships. The government, seeing the emu problem as a chance to support struggling farmers and demonstrate its military prowess, agreed to dispatch soldiers armed with machine guns to eliminate the birds. Thus, the Great Emu War began. In November of 1932, a small military unit, led by Major G.P.W. Meredith, arrived in the wheat belt of Western Australia. The soldiers carried 2 Lewis machine guns, a reliable weapon that had proven effective against enemy soldiers in the Great War. They had also been supplied with 10,000 rounds of ammunition. Surely, they thought, no bird could stand against such firepower. The first battle took place near the town of Campion. Spotting a group of around 50 emus, the soldiers set up their guns and prepared to fire. But as soon as the first shots rang out, the emus scattered. They did not panic, nor did they flee in a predictable manner. Instead, they ran in all directions, their long legs carrying them across the dry land with surprising speed. The soldiers managed to kill only a handful before the rest vanished into the wilderness. Realizing that static firing was ineffective, the troops changed tactics. They mounted the machine guns on the back of a truck, hoping to chase down the birds and gun them down more efficiently. This, however, led to further failure. The terrain was rough, making it nearly impossible for the gunners to aim properly while bouncing across the uneven ground. The emus, as if aware of their advantage, continued to evade their attackers, dashing through thick brush where the vehicles could not follow. Day after day, the soldiers engaged in skirmishes with the birds. Each time, they were met with frustration. The emus seemed to communicate with one another, forming small, highly mobile units that changed direction unpredictably. One veteran was heard muttering that the birds had a better command structure than some military units he had fought with. The machine guns, though deadly against humans, were proving ineffective against an enemy that did not march in formation or take cover behind trenches. After weeks of effort, the results were embarrassing. The soldiers had expended thousands of rounds of ammunition, yet the emu population remained largely unaffected. Reports from the front lines told stories of individual emus taking multiple bullets and still running for miles before collapsing. Some birds even seemed to play with the soldiers, darting in and out of range as if mocking their futile attempts. Major Meredith, though determined, was forced to admit the mission was failing. The media caught wind of the absurdity of the campaign, and soon newspapers across the country were publishing humorous accounts of the war. Political figures began questioning the necessity of using military resources against birds. In early December, just a month after the campaign had begun, the government officially withdrew the troops, declaring an end to the operation. The emus had won. In the aftermath of the war, the farmers were left to deal with the birds on their own. The government eventually introduced a bounty system, paying hunters for every emu they killed, which proved to be a more practical solution. However, the memory of the Great Emu War lived on, becoming a legend of Australian history. It was a rare war where the enemy had never been officially defeated, where machine guns had been bested not by superior firepower, but by speed, agility, and an uncanny ability to dodge bullets. Years later, Major Meredith would joke that the emus were worthy opponents, possessing a level of cunning that he had rarely seen, even in human adversaries. Historians looking back would shake their heads in amusement at the sheer absurdity of it all.
The Great Emu War was not just a battle against birds, it was a testament to nature's resilience against human intervention. The Australian military had faced many formidable enemies, but none quite like the emus. And so, as the sun set over the outback, the victorious birds continued to roam, masters of their land, leaving behind one of the strangest military campaigns in history.